Alrighty, well, a very, very happy Friday, and welcome to another episode of the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Today is April 10th of 2026, and we have made it through another week of sports conversation. It didn't look pretty, but we are here at the back end of the week. We are going to get you guys ready for some baseball this weekend. A couple exciting things if you guys are looking to head out to Great American Ballpark as the Reds get set to host the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. A couple of great things that you could look forward to this weekend. Hey, I don't want to sit here and prile anyone, but if you guys are headed out to the stadium, I would love to get my hands on a Noelvi Marte bobblehead doll, which is going to be given away in tomorrow's afternoon game on April 11th. So if you guys are headed out to the game and can snag me one, I would appreciate that cold heartedly. Um, but yeah, it's gonna be a good weekend. Bearcats are back at UC Baseball Stadium for a three-game weekend in the Big 12 Conference. We also are gonna get you ready for SmackDown as hey, let's be honest with each other. Last week on SmackDown was not the greatest SmackDown to brag about. And, I feel like on the road to WrestleMania, you're going to have some events that are going to be well received and some events that are not. I think that's fair to say. I want to push the blame to the Pat McAfee return, not because it's Pat McAfee, but because the WWE has built up Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes heading into WrestleMania 42. And we were kind of waiting to see who this mysterious phone call could be. And to reveal that it was Pat McAfee, like I said, it's nothing towards Pac. I think he brings a element of excitement to whenever he makes an appearance, and fans love him. And I definitely appreciate his involvement in the WWE. I love what he's done at the commentary station. Obviously, he's done. He's not no professional wrestler in my opinion, but he has put in some work in the ring from time to time. What scratched my head, which has been the week-long conversation, has to go around, well, Pat McAfee just doesn't make sense. And then you hear the story about, well, this is a TKO decision. Right? They're not making the creative decisions, but they're putting in their input what they would like to see. And we've seen this not just with Pat McAfee last week. We've seen this time and time again whenever, The Rock and John Cena turning heel and then The Rock disappears, The Rock going up, coming face to face with Roman Reigns. And so it seems to me, and that's a conversation for later, but it seems to me that the WWE is trying to make everyone happy, and one of the ways to do so is to kind of listen to what TKO wants and to kind of help deliver what TKO wants. Well, I'm going to be honest with you, it was an utter failure. Okay, I don't care what TKO wants. I want what the fans want, and I think we expect or deserve a lot more. I think another disappointment heading into the reveal of who the mystery man phone call was and to be revealed with Pat McAfee had to be along the line of, well, if you compare Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes' feud to Roman Reigns and CM Punk's feud, and who has drawn more attention, who has been more engaging. Well, Randy and Cody's a little bit more fresh, right? They're coming off of Elimination Chamber, whether than Roman and CM Punk is coming off of the Royal Rumble. So we are more kind of backing in on Cody and Randy, and at least of how the WWE a couple weeks ago have pivoted towards the interpretation of Randy and Cody. It almost seems to me that that's going to be the main event. It almost has to be, no? At least on night one, if not night two. So there is a lot. It kind of just it becomes a headache, so to speak, when it comes down to we're investing into one direction, and it's not like, oh well, I didn't see this coming, type scenario. It's one thing to lead us to believe that something is going to happen and then either pay it off or make an unexpected turn that also makes sense. But it's another thing to let us to believe that something's going to happen and then to twist it off and it doesn't make sense. And unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, the Pat McAfee return just does not make sense. So we will get you guys ready for SmackDown. It is officially, I want to say it's the last stop, but it is primarily the last stop for SmackDown before WrestleMania, which is, by the way, next Saturday and Sunday, 2-night event. This kind of kicks off the whole WrestleMania week. I like to go out, a week and a half, 2 weeks before and after. And there's some excitements that we can look forward to here tonight on SmackDown, including a debut of a wrestler who signed earlier this year with the WWE. So we'll talk about that tonight. But I want to get underway and just let's talk about the Cincinnati Reds and the series that let's be honest, they kind of got away from them. They ended up losing to the Miami Marlins last night or yesterday afternoon in a 8-1 final score. Rhett Lauder pitched 5 1/3 innings. He gave up 8 hits, 5 runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts to his resume. And the only thing that the Reds were able to produce was a solo home run by Sal Stewart. Now, this has kind of been that painted picture for the Reds that I hope we could get out of here, especially in the month of April. One of the conundrums that I am dealing with here early on in the season is trying to find my patience and understand, well, what are the patient expectation for these Reds teams. So far, they've been playing really good baseball. They won 5 straight. They swept the Texas Rangers, but when you look at it from a WL perspective, yeah, it looks great. The Reds are 8-5. They're in second place. They're tied with Milwaukee in the NL Central, and it seems to me that the Reds are getting off to a good start to the season, and that's what we want to see. But there are cracks in the shield that has to be addressed. And one of them is offensively, they are not producing a lot of runs. Now, it's great because the Reds bullpen and the Reds starting pitching staff are pulling through, keeping very close games, closing out games. And that's a big step and big improvement to what the Reds did compared to last season. But where is our run producing, idea is that, right? We have Sal Stewart, we have Ellie De La Cruz, Gino Suarez, who we have a lot of expectations to, and something in the preseason, spring training, I kind of talked about was maybe the expectations we have are too high on these players. Great, Gino hit 40 plus home runs last season. Do you honestly expect him to do it? Now, he's at Great American Ballpark 81 games of the year. There's no reason why he shouldn't, but last year was last year, and this year is this year. So, we're just not seeing the offensive productions. And yeah, we are winning games, but we have to give a lot of credit to our bullpen. And, even our starting rotation, our bullpen are going to stumble a few times throughout the course of this year. And this is just the time of series, right? We're in the middle of a 10-game stretch. We're in, um, we're coming home, which is good news, right? We're coming back to Great American Ballpark. We only got 3 games left. There's some excitement heading into it. We'll talk about the City Connect uniforms that they revealed yesterday. And so we look to turn things around. We got, and we already came out and won the series, or not won the series, but tied the series at 2 apiece, thanks to Monday and Tuesday's win. But I do expect and I do hope that the Reds do turn things around with splitting the series against the Marlins here. They did finish off the road trip, their first road trip of the calendar year, 5-2. I mean, these series, not just a series win, but a homestands to road stands win are very important. So I expect them to pick up victories, and whenever we can go on the road, and whenever we can win ball games and win series and walk away off of road trips with 500 or better records. Then we're doing our job, and it makes up for the 2 games lost. The tables could have been easily turned if we did not go into Texas sweeping them. And so there's a lot of credit to it. We are welcoming in the Angels tonight and for the weekend. Angels coming off of a series loss. They're also on a 2-game losing streak. Um, they beat the Braves at home on Monday, 6-2. They then dropped Tuesday and Wednesday, 7-2 and 8-2. So, they weren't really also run productive in their last series, and we look to be able to capitalize on that tonight. First pitch is at 6:40. Unfortunately, it is an Apple TV game, which will be aired nationally if you have Apple TV, and that means there's no Reds TV games, which is unfortunate. But you could also listen to this game on WOW 700. Um, the Angels will send out right-handed pitcher Jack uh, Kochanowicz, if I pronounce that name correct. He is 1-0 with a 4.66 ERA with 10 strikeouts thus far in the season. His last outing was back on April 4th, where they played the Seattle Mariners. He went 5 2/3 of an inning, giving up 4 hits, no runs, 2 walks, and 7 strikeouts to the to his record. He'll be going up against right-handed pitcher Chase Burns. Chase Burns is 1-0 on the year. He has a .82 ERA with 16 strikeouts. He last pitched on April 5th, and they took on the Texas Rangers on the road. 6 innings pitched, giving up 5 hits, one run, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. Another thing when we look into this series, early on, I like to tip my cap to guys like Rhett Lauder and Brandon Williamson and Chase Burns. I think that there is a bigger expectation of performance for Andrew Abbott, Brady Singer. These were guys that before the season and before spring training even came, we were talking about solidifying their spot and their role in the starting rotation. We had the 5th spot, then it became 2, and now with Nick Lodolo on the IL, that's 3. And these are the 3 guys that we have for the expectation to um, carry this ball club. And let's face it, they didn't have such a great spring. Okay. So, it was kind of iffy heading into the season what these guys were able to produce, but they're going to have some good days and they're going to have some bad days. The one thing that I'm looking forward to in this game, I know we have 3 days before a day off, but I'm expecting guys like Chase Burns and Brandon Williamson and Andrew Abbott to eat up good innings, and kind of take the pedal off of our bullpen just a little bit because I want to be able to have them not get overworked. That's something that Terry Francona has focused on this season. tremendously, given Pagan days off, and that provides other players like Connor Phillips to step up to the plate and pitch in critical situations. So I appreciate that from the manager perspective, but we do need to get back on that track of, hey, 5, 6, 7 innings in the score column there. So tonight's first pitch, 6:40. We'll be looking out in this series. Zach Neto, who he's had 4 home runs this season, batting 231, 16 strikeouts recorded. One thing that I was noticing when it comes down to the Angels heading into this series is that so far early on, they strike out a lot. So expect those counts to be worked. In my opinion, Mike Trout, 2 home runs, only batting 190, 11 walks though, and 15 strikeouts. Let's mark that on our calendar. The best hitter coming out of the Angels heading into this series is Joe Adell with 320. And then Jorge Soler, who was involved into that brawl back on Tuesday against Ronaldo Lopez, he is serving his suspension. I don't think he's going to be in this series. Soler is batting 222, 11 RBIs, 3 home runs, 6 walks, 20 strikeouts with 10 hits recorded thus far this season. It's kind of a dodge a bullet this weekend, right? He's one of the better ball players on this Reds lineup, and so we're not going to see him this series, which is kind of a blessing in disguise, if you ask me. So Mike Trout, I think a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, we talked about Mike Trout, maybe this resurgent of a new role, a new position, kind of taking a little bit off of him. When he's healthy, he is a threat to that lineup. And man, I do wish this was one of the series I really wanted to get out there to, so I could watch Mike Trout just be Mike Trout out there. Sometimes getting out to these games is not always about, well, what the Reds are doing, what Ellie De La Cruz are doing. And sure, I want the Reds to succeed and, punch out Mike Trout a few times. But, it's also a rarity to see them come into town and have a good performance. So I'm looking forward to that. But the Angels on this matter will have a 3-game series. Tomorrow they will be first pitch at 4:10. The Angels will send out George Klassen, and the Reds will have Brandon Williamson, left-handed pitcher. And then on Sunday, they'll wrap up this 3-game series with Jose Soriano on the mound, taking on left-handed pitcher Andrew Abbott. Um, when I talk about a fun weekend, if you like I said, if you the weather's nice, it's sunny. I don't think it's supposed to rain. That's something I could check here real quick as we get ready for the series. I know today, right now, it's like 72 degrees. It's going to be very nice. Get up to the mid 70s. Maybe rain a little bit later on this evening. Probably by hopefully before the first pitch. Hopefully, just kind of bypasses us. We don't have an issue with that. Supposed to get up to like the 60s, the low 70s tomorrow, and then on Sunday. I think we're supposed to get up to 84 degrees on Sunday. So very nice weather for some baseball for Great American Ballpark. Still dress warm, dress comfortable, especially for Sunday's game, which is at 1:40. But the Reds have a couple things going on this weekend. Of course, it's Friday night, so you have the family fireworks in the post game show. You also have the Reds bringing back their black on black City Connect uniforms, which I've come to groan on it. But reported yesterday, the Cincinnati Reds will be uh, presenting their new City Connect uniforms 2.0 in that factor. It's a red on red pinstripe uniforms that showcases Cincinnati. And a matter of fact, I like to let me see if I could pop up a picture here if I can go through my photos. I made it a post about it. It looks like, from my understanding, if I'm not mistaken, every Friday home games, this season, the Reds will wear their original City Connect black on black. On Saturday games, correspondence to the Friday home games. The Reds will wear the red on red. This is a unique twist. I think after getting some time to reflect on the uniforms, I don't think they're bad uniforms. It's going to take me some time to adjust to it, but I wouldn't put it as like number one uniforms. I wouldn't say like they're the best uniforms, but I will say that they are a solid front uniform. So, a little history, just revisit. They have a vest style kind of, so it's a pinstripe on the front of the jersey, and then on down the sleeves, it will be a darker shade of red, and the jersey pinstripes initially cut off at the shoulder, a nod to the popular vest style uniforms that was worn 2 decades ago. Remember, the Reds had the white pinstripes, the white jerseys with the red pinstripes. Uh, that kind of like a vest, it cuts off at the shoulders, and then they had the red, something similar to that. They will be wearing a sleeve patch on their right sleeve. It's the Fountain Square that's been the epic center of our city since the Tyler Davison Fountain was dedicated in 1871, just 2 years after Cincinnati fielded the first professional baseball team. As the color red will always represent Reds baseball, the fountain will always serve as the heart of downtown Cincinnati and the constant symbol of renewal. We talk about the pinstripes, the perennial favorite of both Reds fans and players alike. Pinstripes have been featured on a various Reds uniforms throughout the history. City Connect 2.0 brings back this classic element of the new generation, but in a modernized tone on tone style. The City Connect uniforms, the pinstripes. I think that's kind of been something that is bringing back in style. To be honest, I know a lot of teams started getting away from that, just doing solid colors. I do, yeah. I think if it's done right, done correctly, I like the pinstripes. The Padres, I think, have really good pinstripe jerseys as well. And then the jersey logos, the C, okay, which will be placed above the MLB brand at the bottom of the jersey. City Connect 1.0 appears on the chest of the jersey, okay, which is just the letter C. It's on the left side of the chest with the numbers on the right side. Um, Refreshed in a vibrant white to stand out against the all red backdrop. The jock tag and sleeve patch feature the iconic Cincy mark that was featured on the chest of the City Connect 1.0, providing another connective thread in the evolution of the 2.0. Now you can read more about this and check out the City Connect uniforms, the statistics, and the relations behind it, as well as the schedule on our TNC Sports Talk Facebook page. While you're there, please be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And also, you could check out the other teams that have also revealed their City Connect uniforms. We mentioned yesterday Milwaukee will have theirs, Pittsburgh, which kind of seems like the uniforms they've already had. San Diego is representing a new uniform, as well as uh, Texas Rangers. They have a uniform called Tejas, Tejas. Maybe I'm not pronouncing that right. The Atlanta Braves do look very classy. The Kansas City Royals look white and kind of like a royal. And then the Baltimore Orioles will have kind of like a white vest with green sleeves. Kind of more, I compare it to like college uniforms in a sense. So um, but yeah, that's what we're expected to do on Friday. Tonight is the black on black. Saturday is the red on red. You could also check out Saturday's game. I think tickets are still available because the Reds will be giving away one of their 9 series of bobblehead collections. Tomorrow's game is going to be Noelvi Marte's uh, wall catch, his famous wall catch here at Great American Ballpark. You could get your ticket still available. Get that bobblehead. And like I said, if someone's out there, you get an extra one, reach out to me. I would love to get one myself. And then Sunday is just a family discount day. for Reds fans. So a good busy weekend for the Cincinnati Reds. If you have nothing to do, Great American Ballpark is where it is at. Let's take a look at the National League Central here heading into the weekend as the Pirates. We'll just start this off here. The Pirates will begin a 3-game series against the Chicago Cubs. All the other division NL Central teams had a travel day yesterday. Followed by a 3-game series throughout the week. The Pirates enter in this game with a 7-5 record. The Cubs a 6-6 record heading into this 3-game series. This is the second, from my understanding, division rival game that the Pirates have been into. They just got done playing the Reds a couple last week. And it could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing early on in the season playing against your division because especially if you're winning games, get them out of the way. That way you can focus on the regular rest of the season. But yeah, I expect this one's to be a pretty interesting game. That first pitch is coming up here at 2:20. At 7:40, you could watch. You could also check out the Nationals taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. The Nationals enter in this series with a 4-8 record, while Milwaukee is 8-4. And at 8:15 tonight, the Red Sox and the Cardinals. Red Sox is with a 4-8 record, while the Cardinals are with a 7-5 record. In the National League, Milwaukee and Cincinnati, tongue twister, excuse me. Milwaukee has an 8-4 record, leading the division. Cincinnati with an 8-5 record. Pirates and the Cardinals are tied at 7-5, and Chicago at 6-6. No, it's still pretty early on in the season, but still something to keep in mind. Something I was looking into over the weekend. Just kind of looking at all the other matchups and what we can kind of pay attention to. I was really enjoying myself. I know the Texas Rangers are over in Los Angeles, and the Dodgers are 9-3. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they have the best record in baseball today. And then the Cleveland Guardians and the Atlanta Braves, right? Um, they're both coming in with an 8-5 into this series. They also will be this Sunday night baseball on NBC and Peacock. You could tune into that. We could talk a little bit about that maybe on Monday if I check that out. We'll see. All right, other news in baseball conversations. This is coming from the MLB website. I also attached a link in this clickable below. But there are 10 players. Let me see where I popped it because I know I have it. Let me just scroll to it. 10 players who opening eyes early this season. Like I said, this is an article that was posted this morning by Brent McGuire. I encourage you, when you have time, to check out this article. And it basically explains the 2026 season is still only just a few weeks young. But plenty of eyes have stood out in the ongoing. And the reason why this article for me really took headwaves is because there are names coming from that has kind of stand out early on this year, including a couple of the Cincinnati Reds that I would like to talk about. So, um, obviously, there's nobody comparison guys like Shohei Ohtani, Yordan Alvarez, Corbin Carroll, Christopher Sanchez, but there are also younger talent that is making headwaves early on this season. According to this article, first baseman Ben Rice from the New York Yankees has played pretty well early on. Rice emerges to this kind of level was evident last season. Yankee slugger posted 836 with 26 home runs last year, but the underlying number suggests he deserves an even better outcome. His 394 expected OBA was much higher. Let me just get back to it. Much higher than actual. Um, he's proven to be quite a hitter to pair with Aaron Judge in the middle of the lineup. It looks like he's one of the best hitters in baseball. And like I said, I don't really follow too much of, other teams. I try to do my fair share, but Okay, apparently that's he makes the list. Well, we're taking on the Angels, and the Angels have made this list with Jose Soriano, right-handed pitcher. He's been downright dominant in 2026, allowing one run in 20 innings across his first three outings against the Astros, the Cubs, and the Braves. These are all really good teams. And a matter of fact, we are expected to see him this Sunday in the series with the Reds. His latest was an 8 inning game, Jim, against the Atlanta Braves on Monday when the Angels ace allowed one run while striking out 10 batters and issuing no walks. This is kind of something to keep in note in the back of our minds that Sunday is going to be a good matchup. And you know who's on the mound? Andrew Abbott going up against him. Soriano's will always possessed electric stuff, but it's gotten even better this year. He's averaged 97.5 on his fastball and generated a 33.8% whiff rate. Hmm. He's also improved stuff and command. Soriano is making a true breakout performance early on. Now, hey, given it's still early on this year, right? I'm not going to read everybody's name. I think that's something that if you want to go read, you could read yourself. But I also wanted to point out someone like Dylan Dingler, who made the Tigers opening day roster, another young prospect, established himself as a surefire everyday catcher for the Tigers in 2025, winning the Gold Glove and posting a 752 OPS and 13 home runs in 126 games. 27-year-old backstop. Okay. Seemingly taking it up a notch in 2026. He has an 885 OPS throughout his first 10 games, and with underlying figures suggesting his numbers should even be even better so far. Okay, Dingler has found a new offensive level. His all around game would make him one of the best top catchers in baseball today. Something that we could just note off of. But let's get down to what they have to say and what Reds made this list. Well, the first Red here is right-handed pitcher Chase Burns. I think we'll see Chase Burns tomorrow night. Nope, not in this series at all. Yeah, no, mind. Excuse me. Yeah, Chase Burns is in tonight's series, tonight's game. Chase Burn is number 2 pick of the 2024 draft. Flashed immense upside in last year's debut season when he struck out 67 batters in 43 and a third inning despite a 4.57 ERA. His underlying number suggests he is rather unfortunate, and we've seen those positive outcomes come to fruition this year. In his first 2 starts, Burns allowed 1 run in 11 innings while striking out 16 batters and generating whiffs of 44.4% of swings against him. Burns' 98.5 mile four-seam fastball is complemented by a devastating low 90 slider with has produced a gaudy 56.3% riff rate, while the mixes on occasion a changeup. Burns might be on an inning limit this year, but on a per inning basis, he could be one of the best, most exciting pitchers in baseball. It's great to see it because, in my opinion, Chase Burns is, when you look at the next set of ace guys, top tier guys that, whether or not Hunter Green comes back this year, whether or not Nick Lodolo comes back this year, Chase Burns to me kind of fills in and imitates that Hunter Green status. And I feel like this year is that pivotal moment where he could step up and prove, yeah, Andrew Abbott is in that role. But to be honest, he doesn't really, the consistency for me isn't there. I think he's up there in the 1 and 2 slots of the rotation, but I really do feel like Burns has earned his way even up higher. Well, the Reds also talked about Sal Stewart, or this article also put Sal Stewart on this list, number 9 MLB Pipelines prospect. Has done nothing but hit since debuting last September for the Reds, slugging 5 home runs with an 838 OPS in 18 games last year. He's running 364 slash line With 4 home runs in 13 games, this contact quality, which is already great last year, has ticked up even more. Stewart has also shown more selectivity, shaving his chase rate by 4.1%, which has led to his walk rate more than tripling. Stewart was making a very special hitter, um, has the making of a very special hitter, and is rapidly maturing. That is very an important statement to say. One thing that I was kind of questioning heading into this season. We talked about Sal Stewart being this guy who's going to be hitting cleanup majority of the time in between Ellie De La Cruz and Gino Suarez. Well, I feel like there was a lot of pressure that you would put onto this young kid, and hey, 43, um, in what the first September 1 month of baseball, I think from last year, doesn't give you enough to tell you what the future holds. So the fact that he was able to carry in last September into this season at the major league level, and so far he's excelling. I'm very impressed to see what Sal Stewart is. And, I do believe that if this continues, we have ourselves a special person. Now, you know, does the production need to come? Yeah. I mean, look, he's had 4 home runs, and I think it's going to become more of a trio than anything else, especially since, spring training, we talked about Ellie and Gino together. Well, now you have Sal Stewart in the mix. You got to pitch to somebody. And I think that has allowed him, hey, slow down at the plate and to have a cleanup guy. The guy that is responsible for driving in runs, to clearing the bases, to be patient, and to provide then the opportunity for the next set of guys that come after him in the 5, 6, and 7 spot by getting on base himself. He's an all around performer. So I really do like the strategy of what the Reds have done with this. And, once again, I definitely deserve to be on this list. So I encourage you guys to check it out. You can click on the link here. Another article that came out of the waves that I just kind of wanted to share, which, we don't really give props to these teams that don't anticipate to be performing well. Well, the Pirates, the Rockies, and the Marlins are off to a good start in the 2026 season. So they kind of just, this article is on MLB.com, published this morning about, I think it was this morning or if not yesterday, about Mark Feinsand. And is it sustainable? Is the going to be the question that we ask. So let's start with I just want to get down the article. Um, 3 young teams in the National Leagues: Marlins, Pirates, Rockies. Earlier weeks of 2026 has produced building blocks, giving players, coaching staffs, and office reasons for optimism, which is key. And you could turn on a lot of things around. And I would probably argue that the St. Louis Cardinals is another team along that miss. Three, he says, Paul De Podesta, uh, the Rockies president of baseball operations, says, I think belief is really important for any team, whether you are young or experienced. Whenever you get off to a good start, it's easy for guys to believe not only for themselves, but also in each other and their ability to be competitive day in and day out. He continues to say that I think they are starting to see what's possible. We've already faced some adversity and we've been able to bounce back from it and be successful. Those types of experiences relatively early in the season. And I think one thing I take away, I was watching the Rockies and the Padres game last night, 1-4. The Rockies came I think they were almost dominating. I want to argue and say that they were dominating. They got on board first. They got the early 1-0 lead. The Padres responded back. They forced them into extra innings, and it was a battle through and through. And yeah, I think the conundrum is that you went through a lot of bullpen, but it's still something that you should take notice of. The Marlins, look, the Marlins had a very impressive series with us. They didn't just turn over in their grave when it was time to give up. So Marlins came out pretty strong. They were 6-6 after their first 12 games a year ago, but things got away very quickly. And that's going to be the big question with some of these teams. Pirates, something. I mean, they just signed that young 19-year-old kid, Connor Griffin, to a big deal. So they have a lot of investment. And these are teams that they kind of expect. Okay, so for example, the Pirates, they made offseason moves. They have the expectation to, at least in this first half of the year, be a good team, be competitive in the NL Central. At some part of the season, the Pirates have a tendency of falling off of that train and things just go stumbling down, right? So we do talk about this early on, first game of the season. It's a 0-0, all 30 ball clubs. It doesn't matter if you're Aaron Judge and the Yankees. It doesn't matter if you're Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers. All 30 ball clubs have the same opportunity. And for low market budget teams that don't really spend a lot of money into ball players, and they really, homegrown, if they're good, they're good. We'll try to keep them. If not, we'll ship them off. Miami, Pittsburgh, those are two teams that just have that tendency of they could get out to a good start. The Reds are one of them too, but can they finish in the dog days of July, August, and September? When you look at the Colorado Rockies, for this example, they had a terrible year last year. There's no questions about that. That's a year that the Rockies want to forget for a very long time. Now, what's improved is that they have a young group of men that is looking to come in their own. So they're going to find success. It's going to come from a developmental stage in with these younger players, and it's possible. Like I said, they took the Padres to the limit. Now, no, they didn't win. Matter of fact, the score doesn't indicate that they came in any close to winning, but it is, relevant that they kept them in for 12 innings, and that's just to start off a season or a series that will last over the weekend. So, some teams really showing early on that you wouldn't really expect to really gravitate down. All right, well, let's take a look at what the one more article that I saw here. This was the panic meter. This is on CBSSports.com by Matt Snyder. This was back on yesterday at 12:40. You can read this article for yourself. They just kind of highlighted some teams that hasn't gotten out to a good start as expected. Toronto Blue Jays 5-7. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. Max Scherzer went down. Ponce went down. They got off to a good start, sweeping the Athletics, but then they got swept by the White Sox, and they didn't really perform well with the Rockies. And it's one thing to another. And you can expect those performances from against a good team, but for a team in the AL East who really thrives or expects to be back in the playoffs, or even one of the favorites to be in the American League championship game, if not in the World Series, they are not getting out to a good start. Their panic meter is ranked on here as a number 2, and I gotta agree. Depending how the injuries come from result. The Boston Red Sox are another team on here. They're 4-8 of the year. The Reds are 8-2 and have looked all for every, in every faucet. They didn't get off to a good start. Let's face it. Okay, the day they've lost 5 straight games before returning home to lose 2 out of 3 against the Padres. They've already turned the corner with Garrett Crochet through well on Tuesday, and their offense did just enough to grab one run victory. Boston got an ace-like effort from Sonny Gray on Wednesday. This is a difference of this is just a slow start to a season. The problem is why we put the Blue Jays and why maybe you put the Red Sox on this list is that in a division like the AL East, there's no room for these type of slow starts. The Tigers, another top team in the AL Central, we expect 4-8 to begin. From 2-0 to 4-8, it's just kind of grinding here. They were swept in 3 games with Arizona. So far, they've lost 3 straight in Minnesota against what what he figured would be a bad Twins team this season. They've lost of Tarek Skubal's three starts, and Framber Valdez got ripped on Wednesday. So, you go out and you think you're doing your due diligence by, hey, Tarek Skubal, you're a top pitcher. There's a lot of anticipation for your success this year, and where's your production scoring out of that? That's just not there. I would say out of those three teams, if I had to choose a team that really make a panic line, you invest a little bit more out of the Tigers, and they haven't really produced all that well. All right, let's take a look at down on the farm real quick. Down in AAA, the Louisville Bats are out there in Indianapolis to take on the Indians. The Bats have won 2 out of 3 thus far in this 6-game series. They entered play today with a 6-6 record, and the Indians with a 3-9 record. Tonight, first pitch is at 6:35. The right-handed pitcher Darren McLaughlin will be on the mound for the Bats. Brandon Lee Brandt will be on the mound tomorrow at 6:35 for the Bats, as well as Sunday's game will be rack up a 6-game conclusion with Chase Petty on the mound. Down in Double-A, the Chattanooga Lookouts are out there in Birmingham to take on the Barons in a 6-game week series. The Lookouts won game 1 in extra innings 5-4. They won game 2 and game 3. They currently have a 3-0 lead in the series. Tonight's game is at 8 p.m. Tomorrow's game is at 7:30, and they wrap up this series at 3:05. The Lookouts enter in with a undefeated 6-0 record, while the Barons are 2-4 heading into tonight's game. On High A baseball, the Lake County Captains are taking on the Dayton Dragons. The Dayton Dragons have won just 1 of 3 thus far, winning yesterday's ball game 7-4. They'll be back at it again 7:05 tonight, 1:05 tomorrow, and on Sunday. That is your AAA look at around the horn. Let's take a look at the Cincinnati Bearcats baseball as they begin a 3-game series in Big 12 conference play against the Baylor Bears. Cincinnati Bearcats won back on Wednesday in the Joe Nuxhall Classic 8-7 against Miami, Ohio. They did lose and got swept by the Oklahoma State over last weekend. Bearcats entered play with a 22-13 record, 4-8 in conference play with a 1-game winning streak. They are 12-4 at home. While for the Bears, they did beat UT Arlington back earlier this week with the final score of 5-2. They did win the series against BYU 2-1, and they have a 2-game winning streak heading into this series. Bears entered play with a 19-13 record, a 7-5 conference record, and a 5-3 record on the road. Today's game starts at 5 p.m. at UC Baseball Stadium. Tomorrow will be at 3 p.m., and Sunday's game will be at 11 a.m. All games will be aired on ESPN+. All righty, just a little bit other news before we get into a preview of SmackDown. Uh, the 49ers have signed former Bengals defensive end uh, Cam Sampler, something that maybe just pops in your mind to just kind of get note of. So Cam Sampler, he's 6'3", 270 pounds, fourth in the 2021 draft, fourth round, out of Tulane, missed 2024 season with the torn Achilles tendon. He played 14 games and 2 starts last season for the Bengals, with 17 tackles, 2 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. We wish Cam Sample the best of luck in his upcoming future. The NFL has rumors and schedules coming on here. There is another article that can be found on NFL website by John Breach, possible NFL schedule release dates, and 11 things we need to know about slot games. 2 games we have been set for week number 1 on Wednesday, September 9th. The Seahawks will have the home opener at 8:20 on NBC. The opponents has yet to be determined. On Thursday, September 10th, the 49ers and the Rams will take place in Australia, 8:35, and the broadcast will be yet to be determined. We'll learn that a little bit later. We have 9 internationals on the schedule. We know the Melbourne Rams and 49ers. Rio de Janeiro, the Cowboys will be in. They don't know their opponents yet. The Saints don't know their opponents as they'll be in Paris. 49ers don't know their opponents as they will be in Mexico. The Jaguars at Wembley Stadium in London. The Jaguars again at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. In London, the Commanders with the Tottenham Hotspur game as well. Yeah, the Munich with the Lions, and the Madrid with the Falcons. And that is kind of all we know right now. So something that we will look into. Hopefully we get more of that release. Probably not until at least next month, if not into June, the latest. But we'll keep you updated as that as that continues. The interesting thing that I will say on behalf of that, um, I as much as I enjoy the international games, and I feel like the Bengals will probably get this one against the Commanders. I really don't know. It does affect. 49ers have two of them. The Jaguars have two of them. And, you have the time difference. You don't have the home field advantage. And it can really affect early on, in your season's outcome. So, alrighty, WWE SmackDown. One of the final stops will be taking place tonight, San Jose, California, as we are just under 10 days away. WWE Champion Cody Rhodes will be on SmackDown tonight to respond to last week's ambush at the hands of Randy Orton and Pat McAfee, as we opened up and had that conversation earlier today. The final episode of SmackDown before the company takes over Las Vegas WrestleMania week is taking place tonight. San Jose, California, and fireworks are expected when WWE champion Cody Rhodes arrives at the SAP Center. American Nightmare is fired up. The actions of Randy Orton and Pat McAfee from last Friday that has simply couldn't wait to get a few things off his chest. Okay, whether we like it or not, that's what it was said. Never one to sit in silence, Pat McAfee has been using his talk show and social media to take digs at both Rhodes and CM Punk all week long. He continues to insist that Randy Orton has been sent by the wrestling and the sports entertainment gods to save the business. And he's also promising to deliver a massive surprise when SmackDown goes live on USA Network. So, something to definitely want to tune into. And, look, regardless if I like this or not, it's going to draw attention. I think that, one, it gives publicity, WrestleMania week. This is where you connect an outside program through Pat McAfee, the Pat McAfee show, the people who watch him, which he receives a lot. You find a way that he plays a role where people are going to want to tune into his shows throughout the week. That's going to draw you back to WWE. So I feel like it really does a lot of business, a lot of good business for both people, even though I feel like this is a negative thing. The former WWE champion will also be in the house, and he's made it promise of his own. As the unsanctioned match with Jacob Fatu at WrestleMania 42 quickly approaches, McIntyre has vowed to expose the real Samoan werewolf to the entire WWE universe. Sami Zayn was able to protect his spot at this year's Showcase of Immortals when he successfully defended his men's United States Championship against Carmelo Hayes last week. But immediately following the match, he was attacked by Trick Williams and rapper Little Yachty. WWE says Zayn will be seeking some payback later tonight, just 8 days out from his upcoming defense. Finally, the wait is over. He has arrived. Fans have not seen Royce Keys, okay, Powerhouse Dobbs, or whatever you want to, from AEW, since his debut at the Royal Rumble in January. The company has announced that the big man will be making his first appearance on the Blue brand, roughly 30 minutes from where he grew up. The company has not said exactly that what Keys will be doing, but is expected to have a first singles match of his WWE career. No other matches have been announced at this time. The WWE Women's Champion, Jay Cargill, Machine, and B-Fab, and Tiffany Stratton are all being advertised on the show locally. So tonight, USA Network, outside TV service, streaming outside is Peacock, Fubo, YouTube TV, Director, whatever. 8 start on USA Network, SAP Center, San Jose. Okay. I'm excited for Royce Keys. Now, it's interesting. And I actually, I'm looking to quickly just look back on my initial understanding and appreciation of this. I appreciate the WWE for whatever reason hold off on Royce Keys' debut. You, at the same time, you're bringing up Javon Evans, Carmelo Hayes, and Obafemi, all from NXT, who was sent down to NXT, paid their dues, they had their roles, and they were all getting called up to the main roster. And they have been in these major storylines. They kind of been the focus point of the WWE on this road to WrestleMania. They all have key matches. Javon in the ladder match for the IC title. You have Trick Williams for the US title against Zayn. And then you have Oba and Brock, which these are mega matches. So to see Royce Key, which I did get excited about when we saw him at the Royal Rumble, and then he disappeared, and you question, well, what happened? To be able to see him before WrestleMania, not rush his appearance, and kind of you've given time for the separation between AEW and the WWE role. The only thing that I'm surprised out of this is that he didn't have any time at NXT. One of the pivotal moments in WWE, whether you are an independent wrestler or not, is that you do spend time in NXT to get acclimated to what the WWE is about. And I mean, maybe I'm blinded, but I haven't personally seen him in NXT. That may be something that I am mistaken on. So, but hey, we're right before WrestleMania. You know, a lot of eyes, a lot of attention. We're there's 30 minutes away from his hometown. I feel like this is a really good moment. I feel like he is a powerhouse person. He is another guy very similar to Obafemi that can clash. I think if you use him correctly, um, I don't know how well his promo skills are. I do know that I don't know how well he will be received in the WWE. This would be another great talent, to be honest, under the realm of a Paul Heyman guy. I'm just saying, Obafemi, and this is something that we could break down in links at a later date, but Obafemi, he doesn't have to talk. And usually when you don't say a whole lot and you just use your words through actions, well, you kind of need someone to manage you so you can speak. I mean, that's why Paul was with Brock. Brock just went around week in and week out and destroyed, caused havoc. Well, in this case, wouldn't you feel like the same thing with Oba? Now, right now, there's nothing that needs to be said between Brock and Oba. They show it by their strengths in the ring. Does that change afterwards? Maybe. Maybe Oba beats Brock and be like, oh, wow, man, you know, maybe I'm teaming up with the wrong guy. Maybe Brock's lost his edge. Speculations, right? Powerhouse Hobbs. We'll see. But first things first, let's see what he does in the ring. But Drew McIntyre, because like I said, the expectation of SmackDown tonight to be kind of like that hit go home show, because whatever happens next week on SmackDown, yes, that sets you up, but we're not really going to. I don't have the expectation of seeing a whole lot out of action wise from the guys who are scheduled and the gals who are scheduled for WrestleMania 42. That is your SmackDown preview. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to our show today. We're wrapping up another week. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think of our sports conversations. While you're there, please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Have those notifications on so you don't miss a single episode. We have a new MLB The Show franchise series just getting caught up. We are now publishing more episodes for our MLB The Show Road to the Show series, as we are now going to college and playing the College World Series and a lot more. We may also start publishing those videos on our Facebook page for entertainment purposes. Also, follow us on our social media. We're on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and more. And you can listen to us and download us and listen to us on a podcast, the TNC Sports Talk, everywhere you get your podcast listening needs. Take us with you wherever you go. But I hope everyone enjoys their weekend. I know I will. I'll come back Monday, let you know how my weekend went, and we will get ready and review all that stuff and get ready on a big WrestleMania weekend. So until next time, thank you guys for tuning in. And appreciate you guys for tuning into the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. You guys enjoy your weekend. Take care.